Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. I'm Travis, and no Patrick today. He got a little roughed up by the dinosaurs, but he should join us in Gotham next episode. But I do have a guest.
Hello, my name is Carys. How are you?
I'm doing well. Glad to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, it should be fun going through the Lost World, Jurassic Park on this. It'll be a few weeks after recording this that this episode comes out, but as of recording, the new movie Dominion just released, so it's a very Jurassic Park heavy weekend.
That's right. It's topical, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really excited to get to
Same.
that. Yeah. I'm stoked. I've heard good things so far.
Oh, really? I have not heard good things, but I also don't care what what reviewers say or any of that. So
Oh, that's fair.
yeah.
Well, maybe I haven't heard good things. I've heard people excited for it, so
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
For sure.
Yeah.
What's your general history with Jurassic Park, and then specifically, what is your history with this movie?
Interesting. So the first Jurassic Park film, I obviously didn't watch it at this time because I was not alive. But the funny thing was, so the original Jurassic Park, which came out in '93, my dad went to see it with my uncle just a month after my sister was born. She was born in '93, so he always associates the original Jurassic Park with the birth of my sister, which I think is really funny. So there's that. I don't remember when was the first time I ever watched either of them.
Yeah.
feel like I saw the first movie when I was pretty young, like maybe 10 or 11 or something like that. And I don't remember watching the second movie until I bought like the first trilogy for my dad on DVD for like a birthday.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 10 years ago when I was maybe, I don't know, 16 or 17. And I feel like I watched them all three at that time and then haven't seen them that often since then. So it was pretty fun. I watched the original like 2 days ago and then I watched The Lost World today to refresh my brain. So yeah, we're caught up.
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. That makes me curious why you picked this movie, I guess, to come on and to join us for.
Yeah,
Like,
so it's funny. Like, even though I haven't seen them that often, like, I really enjoyed the first one. I'm in particular hearing about it in my film class because
okay.
they kind of discussed the like the spectacle of the new CGI that was used at the time
Sure.
in 1993 and how Spielberg framed those shots, those kind of wide shots of the dinosaurs like strolling along, and then use the animatronics for the close-up stuff to kind of give you that sort of perspective of like the realism, which I think fascinated me a lot at the time when I was studying kind of those movies in school. And yeah, so I kind of just have, what would you say, like, I guess a filmmaker's kind of interest
Sure.
in these movies in general. And I really like the recent ones with Chris Pratt for the most part. Haven't seen the newest one yet, but yeah, so I guess I was excited to revisit it and talk about it basically.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this. I don't know if it was an opening weekend. I definitely saw it in theater, and it's I doubt it was opening weekend, but it probably was either the following weekend after it opened. And I remember just not being in love with it. I loved the
Right.
first one and watched it, hundreds of times, maybe on VHS,
Yeah.
and then this came out, and I enjoyed it, but as we'll get into, there were things about it I did not care for.
Right.
it's probably the stuff you'd expect. But but yeah, and this is just one that I would revisit occasionally. I did own it on VHS. I eventually got that original trilogy DVD box set. That's probably the same one that you got for your dad.
Probably.
So I remember watching, this one and the third one several times on DVD, but in the last 10, 15 years, I have not revisited either of them. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Very cool.
Had you read the book or looked into like the differences in the book versus the movie or any of that?
I haven't,
Okay.
no.
I remember between watching the first movie and being in love with it, my I think my dad was like, I think you're old enough to read the book, because I know the book for the first movie was a little bit scarier, because the first movie had like horror elements to it.
Mhm.
So I read that, and then I think at the same time, like Michael Crichton was kind of rushing to get a sequel out, and the odd thing that the first movie did was, like, initially Ian Malcolm was killed in the first book. Like I
Oh.
think he gets in both the book and the movie, he gets injured in that initial T-Rex attack. And I
Right, yes.
can't remember if he dies instantly, or I almost think he struggled, on through the rest of the movie and then died of his injuries. Um
Right,
and
okay.
so and then also in the book, John Hammond, who in the book, Hammond is a real prick. He's just a money grubbing. He's not the kindly grandfatherly character he is in the movies,
Right.
and so he also dies at the end, and almost I think at the very end of the book, like as everyone's getting rescued into the choppers, he somehow gets separated, and he ends up getting the same death that we see in this movie that the Peter Stormare's character gets when he gets attacked by all the little compy, like the
Oh,
tiny little
yeah.
that's the death that John Hammond had in the book.
Yeah, it was kinda
So
brutal.
yeah, yeah. So then, because the first movie was so huge, they wanted a sequel, and so Michael Crichton, I think, had to do some real gymnastics to bring Malcolm back. Uh,
Yeah.
because I think at that point they knew that Sam Neill, or they knew that the Alan Grant character wasn't going to come back or be the main player.
Mhm.
And so they had to, yeah, just really change up. I think they just the book opens up with like, oh, he didn't really die. That's what we told everybody, so that he, for press, just I don't know. They came up with some real flimsy reason for why he was still alive. So
Got it.
yeah.
Does that mean that, like, the whole of this movie, like, is just original to the film and, like, wasn't in the book at all?
No, because I think they knew that they were making this movie, and so the book, I think, is pretty similar to the movie because they
Okay.
were writing the screenplay and the book at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
but there is one other big difference in that his daughter in this movie, Kelly, in the book, it's not his daughter. It's like Ian Malcolm's like mentoring two kids who are like in a science program or something, and so two kids become one kid, and she becomes his daughter. So
Okay.
they changed that for this, but otherwise, I think that plays out. Yeah, I mean, I read it once, so
Fair
I
enough.
couldn't say if it sticks super close, but those are
Got it.
the major differences that I do remember. So,
Cool.
and I really like the way the movie opens with this picnicking family, this yacht family,
Yes.
um, which I do want to say, I think that this opening is from the first book. I think
Okay.
that they didn't film it for the first movie, and yeah, for the first movie, so I think they used it here instead. And as far as openings go, I really like this sequence.
Yes. I feel like it's really good at establishing what's going on, setting up the whole plot of this, Site B island
Yeah.
thing, establishing those weird little dinosaurs, and like,
Hmm.
oh, they're gonna come up again, and they're not very friendly.
Yeah. It's
It's
super
really good.
horrifying the way that they don't show the little girl, of course, but when the mother runs in and screams, and then later on Hammond says, "Oh, the little girl was injured. Oh, she's fine." But
Right.
it really works in establishing that there's this island is certainly a threat, even from these little dinosaurs, the
Yeah,
compies.
they're not playing around.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. No, I think it's really good. It's funny to me that the father's just like, oh, just let her do whatever. Like,
yeah,
leave her alone, let her play. And
yeah.
then, you see this little dinosaur. Oh, that's cute. And then all of a sudden there's a swarm of them 2 seconds later.
Hmm.
Like, oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah. So something's up. Absolutely. It's really
yeah.
good.
We meet, of course, we meet Ian Malcolm. He just shows up. He's in the subway and dealing with just this uh,
Yeah, that
kind
random
of
guy.
jerk. Yeah.
Yeah, no
Um,
one likes to be bothered by a jerk on the
yeah.
subway. Like we all hate that guy.
Um,
I do really like the transition where you just see it
mhm.
cuts to him and he's like behind this. He's standing in front of this poster that's like this kind of Hawaiian island thing, and it looks like he's in the same place that they were. But then it's like, no, he's just in a subway station. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's pretty good.
I like that it establishes that he is someone that people are aware of, and they either think he's crazy or like he's become a celebrity. This guy's like, I believe you, and then the other ladies are staring at him, and then when
Yeah,
he gets to I guess it's Hammond's estate or his mansion, he the keep forgetting the character's name, Ludlow, I think, and he's going to be our main protagonist through the movie.
right,
He the discussion that he and Malcolm are having about, oh, you went to the press and just all this stuff, I think does a really good job of setting up what he's gone through the last like 4 years. And I really like Malcolm defending himself and saying, he never took a cent from any of the stuff. He told the truth, but he did violate some, non-disclosure agreement sort of thing. And
right. Yeah.
I really like all that exposition. It's not too heavy-handed. So,
Yeah, I think it's really good. And I think what it does is reestablish just the juxtaposition of like his like rationality of like what you're doing is so crazy and so dangerous,
mhm.
and then you've got the other guy being like, well, you did this, you did that, like you're in
Yeah.
the wrong. It's like, well, I mean,
Yeah.
to me there's no gray area here, but
Mhm.
so I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it is well written, that whole sequence.
Yeah.
The I can't remember the whole thing they're talking about, but yeah, I think it was really good.
Yeah. It's also an odd place to insert a cameo from Lex and Tim from the first movie because, we Ian sees them and he's really delighted to see them, and he's not sure why their uncle summoned him. And then this other guy, Ludlow, comes in, and that's what starts the argument between Ian and him. And then if you just watch the background, the kids are just ushered off by, I think, the butler there, who's played by Ian Abercrombie. I know he's a big character actor, but he's very just minorly used in this movie. But
Right.
either way, like they're just the kids are just ushered off screen out of the movie, and it's just an odd choice. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I mean, I feel like the reason that they're maybe there is to sort of remind you of the whole like grandfather thing. Like, oh yeah, he's kind
Yeah,
of a nice guy, and he's got a family and whatever. But it's like, well, I mean, why were they there though?
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
It's kind of, yeah. I didn't really think about that, but that is kind of dumb.
yeah.
Yeah. So I guess when Hammond's reintroduced,
Hmm.
then you start finding out about his whole new thing going on, the whole
Yeah.
Site B shenanigans. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's a big reveal of this movie. There was another island.
Hmm. I
It's
like all the Site B business. I really like them talking about, oh, it's just we bred them on Site B, and then took them to the other island for he even calls it like Isla Nublar was the showroom. Isla Sorna, Site B was the factory floor, is what
yeah,
he says. So I really like all that. I love how Hammond here he's still that circus ringleader. He talked about in the first movie having little, fake circuses that he used to build, and like he's still that type. Like like I said, he's the showman. He's this ringleader character because he's just trying to sell this, almost to Ian, get him to buy into why this island is so important. And needs to, and he's not making it up. He's not.
Yeah.
He is being genuine, but he's also just being very. I don't know.
Naive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Hammond is very naive with yeah. The
Yeah. I feel like in that moment where he's like, ah, sight B, he's being like the magician who's just pulling
Mhm.
a rabbit
There you go.
out of a
Yeah,
hat, like, oh, look, we got all these other dinosaurs. They're still
yeah.
kicking around.
And I do like that he sees that as not an opportunity to, hey, we can make another park, whereas I guess his nephew Ludlow is what that's the main conceit of the movie is like he wants to go in, get dinosaurs and make a new park. So,
Yeah, I think the whole part that or there's this line where Ian Malcolm is like, so you went from capitalist to
mhm.
naturalist in just 4 years. It's like
Yeah.
you've gone from, yeah, this is all about money to, well, we can just document them and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine. It's like, yeah, you're still sending people into this fucking dangerous scenario, like no regard for anybody's safety. Like,
Yeah.
who cares about that? Like, he is kind of
That
delusional, even
Oh
though
yeah.
yeah.
That's the part that y you wouldn't send in 4 people. Hammond wants to send in a crew of 4 people to document the animals, get proof that they're there. That way he can, use that footage to spearhead a conservation effort. And I love the way Goldblum plays it. He shines in this movie, I think, and
Yes.
especially in this scene because he's doing that flustered, so there another island with more dinosaurs, no fences this time, and do you want to send in people on the ground?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah,
really love that.
he's so good throughout the movie at like, listen, I've done this rodeo before. Like, I know what's up, and everyone else is just like oblivious to the danger.
I sort of wish there was a line here where Hammond says, "Well, I asked Alan Grant, but he wouldn't return my calls or he didn't want to go." Because really, Ian Malcolm is an odd choice to
Right.
go to this island. Conveniently, as we find out in this conversation, his girlfriend is already there. Hammond is quote unquote sent his girlfriend Sarah Harding ahead to because she's a predatory expert. She's a paleontologist. You know, and so it's convenient that that is the link that gets Ian Malcolm to go to the island, but it's a little
Yes.
flimsy.
Right. It is very convenient, but obviously they needed something, some emotional thing
Hmm. Right.
to make him make that decision like, "Oh yeah, I got to go." And then he says the thing about, this is a rescue operation. It's not a
Hmm.
research expedition anymore or whatever. Because obviously this is a woman he cares about, so he has to go and, you know, do that thing. Make
Yeah.
sure she's okay. And yeah, but it's very much like shoehorned in there. Oh yeah, well, do you know who's there? Sarah Harding. Oh,
Hmm. I
yeah. So
I don't like the way once Ian leaves and Hammond, he's just gloating to himself, kinda. He's really pleased with himself that he conned, Ian into going, basically.
right,
I don't care for that. That is a little bit I think the book Hammond kinda shines through.
yes, right. It
So
kind of seems a little out of character for
right.
the on-screen Hammond, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, I set this all up. This is my maniacal plan.
Yeah, it's all coming together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little
So
weird. Yeah, and that did actually occur to me when you said they didn't acknowledge like Alan Grant's
mhm.
not going. And I feel like that would have made sense
Yeah.
to have some kind of thing in there because it's like, why is he not in this movie at all? It's just
Sure.
like it's just not explained whatsoever. So yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like they should have done that maybe.
Yeah, I mean, because not that this is even the same island, but Malcolm was either sedated or like in a bunker most of that first adventure, So
True. It's like, yeah, I mean, he has first-hand experience of being on the island, but, it was it was Alan that was doing all the heavy lifting in the first
yeah,
movie and, protecting everybody else, so yeah,
yeah.
that's a fair point. I didn't actually think of that. That's kinda funny. I was just gonna say, this time around, Jeff Goldblum gonna have his action hero opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's I was gonna bring that up at any other point, but it's an odd crew in this movie because none of them are really action stars, but as we and even in this next scene, we'll kinda meet the rest of the team. Yeah, and it's not an action star heavy movie, even though they kinda want people in those roles, so it's interesting that they kinda get real people, to fill out this team. Especially like as the first guy we meet, Eddie Carr, played by Richard Schiff, and he's there. He's the field equipment expert. So he's the guy maintaining the vehicles that they need, I guess the weaponry, the tactical, technological stuff. That's his role here. So
Right. Yeah, that is true. And I feel like I guess we'll get to this later, but like the whole trailer sequence
mm,
is like,
yes,
wow, this is Die Hard all of a sudden. Like it's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just like so hammed up. It's pretty funny.
hmm
In
yeah,
comparison to the first movie where it's like, these are real people just trying to get away from these
sure,
dinosaurs. But all of a
yeah, yeah.
sudden it's like, oh yeah, we gotta do this action hero thing. It's kind of yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed that about it, but I feel like this movie as a whole, which we might discuss at the end, but it definitely has a more hokey tone. I feel like,
mm, sure,
throughout. There's just a
yeah,
few different things, but yeah. So,
yeah.
but I guess the next thing that happens is that Kelly gets introduced, right?
Yeah, yeah, we get, Vince Vaughn real quick. He just comes in, he's gonna be their photographer. Nothing major with him to say really right here. But yeah, then Kelly comes in and, you know, th leading up to, like, prior to having rewatched the movie for this, I kept thinking, "That's the biggest, like, logic leap that this movie makes is taking a kid to the island." And I could not remember that she was a stowaway. I
Right.
remembered her coming into this sequence, because she's supposed to be having a dad weekend, because her mother dropped her off and left town, and so I remembered all that, and I thought like Jeff or Ian Malcolm just wanted to keep her close,
Right.
because she was didn't have an option. I forgot that there was a bit with a babysitter that obviously falls through, but then the thing that after watching the scene, it's like, oh yeah, she's a stowaway. She gets in this fight with her dad, and he says, don't listen to me. So she climbs aboard one of these trailers, and then it occurs to me, it's still a big, logic leap because what they're telling us is she goes and hides in the trailer, and then he never, makes sure that she gets to the babysitter that she's supposed to go to. Like,
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
if you blink, you miss it sort of thing, but he also, like, he doesn't check in to make sure she gets, taken care of for the weekend, I don't know.
Yeah, that is true. That also didn't occur to me. I was kind of like, yeah, I guess she's there now.
Mm.
But it is, yeah, kind of strange.
Yeah, because I don't know that this movie needs a kid. I know that they're trying to play off of a little bit of the first movie and just having kids on the adventure. I guess I'm glad that it's a daughter and not the two from the book who were, I'm pretty sure, just like a, I don't know if you have the big brother big sister kind of program, but I think it's something like that where he is just kind of mentoring these two kids, and that would I think feel like a bigger leap in getting them to go on this adventure with him. So
Right. I feel like Kelly's role in the movie starts out like, yeah, he's got to protect her,
hmm
obviously. But he's already there to protect Sarah anyway.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, you've got the daughter thing and their relationship, which is kind of interesting.
Mhm.
Don't listen to me, and like, oh, but you never keep your word, you never keep your
Yeah.
promise. Oh, I promise it will come back to you, and that wasn't even resolved anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it's just sort of left there
It's
hanging, and she's
yeah,
not even there at all in the third act of the movie.
right, yeah.
So yeah,
It's like they need because once he gets to the island and they find Sarah, she doesn't want to be rescued. She doesn't need to be rescued. So then he needs a reason to get off the island, and by reintroducing Kelly here, who is now on the island with them, that gives him now motivation to try to get off the island. So
yeah,
yeah, you're just kind of using people to get him to the island and get him off the island. So
yep.
don't know if I love that,
I
but
do like a couple of her lines. Like there's a part where
mm,
she's talking about the babysitter Karen or
yeah,
whatever, and she's like, she doesn't even have a Sega. That was pretty funny. I appreciated that.
hmm they have really good chemistry. Like just their bantering back and forth, I think, is really solid.
Yes.
But
Yes. I would have kind of liked her maybe to be in the movie more, or,
hmm
have it had a bigger
have a
role.
real role. Yeah.
Yes. Rather than like, oh, we just got to have a kid. Like,
Like,
I don't
what if
know.
she was let's say she's, I don't know, 19 years old, and
Right.
she is, unbeknownst to him, she's already on the island as, Sarah's, like, research assistant, or, someone that is also on the island because they kinda got dragged along, or because they wanted to be there. But, I mean, I guess it kinda does the same thing of him trying to get to the island to get someone off the island, I guess. But
Yeah.
like, you could have another reason for her to be there. I
Yes.
don't know, but
Yeah, I feel like, or you could have just taken Sarah out of the movie completely and just had it be his daughter instead,
yeah,
which I think would
yeah.
I would be okay with that. Um,
That's interesting, yeah, because it could be his daughter who's the expert, and yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but anyways, yeah, we could rewrite the movie
Yeah, right,
and do that instead.
yeah. There are dinosaurs on this island. We do get to see some Stegosaurus, little herd of them or pod of them.
Yep.
I like that sequence. It's fun. The Stegosaurus was a fan favorite. People were, I guess, I don't know if complain is the right word, but there were people that wanted to see them in the first movie and didn't. I think the in the first movie, the sick Triceratops was written as a sick Stegosaurus.
Interesting.
Yeah, not sure why the change, but they definitely wanted to give that particular dinosaur to people early, and I think a pretty memorable, pretty good sequence. And I think the CG holds up here on them.
Yeah, I quite liked it. I
Um,
was pretty impressed.
yeah,
Yeah, I like.
obviously there's the baby one is practical, but
Yes. Yeah, I do like their use of practical effects in this movie. 100%.
yeah, I think they, for the most part, they all pretty well hold up. I don't. We'll get to it. I don't care for the baby T Rex that much.
Yeah, it's not.
Just the physical, like, puppet, I think, is a little herky jerky,
Mm,
in its movements and stuff. But it's a fun. I guess it's a fun way to introduce her, but it's also like they have just been yelling for her and talking at a normal volume, and then they show Nick getting in position to take some photos, and then she hears his camera clicking, and it's like they play it as if she was unaware until that moment that they were right there. So
right.
it just, on rewatch, it plays a little strange for me. Not a big deal, but
Yeah, it's a little silly. I do like the part where they're both yelling, "Sarah, Sarah Harding! How
uh,
many Sarahs do you think there are on this island?" I that got a chuckle out of me. I gotta be
that
honest.
yeah,
I
that
enjoyed that.
one. There are several jokes in this movie that hold up and make me laugh every time. I really like that one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's a funny movie. Like
it really
I
is.
I
Yeah.
didn't remember how many good jokes there were
Mm,
in this movie, but they're
yeah.
actually, yeah, I really like the tone of those
Yeah.
moments.
I really like, once we meet Julianne Moore, she is she hits the ground running. She's like, "Did you see those did you see those animals? Like, they're a family. They're, um she's just instantly like excited to share like the experience that they all just had, talking about him. And like he's, Ian's trying to like can't help but notice were you attacked? He's holding up her backpack, and like she is just full speed, just excited about being here.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy her energy. I feel like it gets a little annoying like after a while. But
Hmm.
I do really like her introduction, and you could tell like, oh yeah, she's just like a kid in a candy shop. Like she's just
Yeah.
like super excited about everything that's going on. Um completely oblivious to the
Yeah.
danger.
I think the filmmakers fail her character a little bit because she's meant to be this. Like Hammond says, initially, she knows about sleeping upwind from or downwind from predators, whichever it is, that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
she's been around predators for years and years or whatever. But then she spends the second act of the movie walking around in this bloody jacket, that she would know I should not be wearing this thing. It's going to attract, it's going to leave a scent. So
Right.
that sort of thing, that's a failing in the writing. I think that's letting the character look stupid,
Yeah,
you know.
that's frustrating, because she is supposed to be an expert and all this kind of
Hmm.
stuff. And yet she's making these different decisions. Like,
Yeah.
with the baby T-Rex whole thing.
Hmm.
I mean, I know like
Yeah.
her philosophy is they're not going to attack us, they're just here for the infant. It's like,
Sure.
well, yeah, but
They're also gonna come back and attack. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I didn't think that one through maybe, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
There's another uh, uh funny moment that is very subtle, and because we as the audience are wondering, how are these dinosaurs still alive? We know that they need lysine. They need this. It's a byproduct of soy. They need this protein enzyme or whatever to live. And she says, "Oh, I figured out how they survive." And Ian says, "I don't care." It's the best response to what, as the audience, I think it's a nice nod to like the audience needs this information. He doesn't care.
That's pretty
I really
funny.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No, I think I missed that part. That's
oh
pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, really good. Yeah, I like the part whenever she is interacting with the Stegosaurus and like she's doing that and Ian is just like in the
Mm,
background like just narrating what's going
yeah.
on. Like, oh,
she
when she sees something she's got to touch it.
she
It's
can't not
pretty
touch. She can't not touch. Yeah.
it's pretty funny.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get they return to base camp. Then we get reintroduced to Kelly, and then it's I think there's something called peril fatigue, and we're already on an island with dinosaurs. We know we need to get off the island because there are dinosaurs. Now we have Kelly on the island. Now we have they're going to keep piling on the drama, and then in this one scene, you've got like three arguments going on simultaneously because you have like Ian versus Kelly, Ian versus Sarah, and then Ian versus like Eddie and the radio, like
Yes.
all of the three things are happening simultaneously, and kind of works, but it bugs me when they get inside the trailer and he's trying to
Yes.
protect his daughter but also tell her to get out of the trailer but stay in the trailer, that I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'm like, what do you want your kid to do right
Yeah,
now?
yeah,
Like, just leave her alone.
yeah,
It's like, oh, adults are talking. Like, get
yeah,
out of here. Actually, no, don't go outside. It's dangerous.
yeah,
Like, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
um,
pretty silly.
yeah.
Um,
Then we get the arrival of the InGen. We'll find out later. This Ludlow he's coming with an army essentially to come to the island, and when they all see them arriving in these helicopters, I'm 90% sure the shot of Jeff Goldblum grabbing the binoculars to take a look, I think he's holding them backwards.
oh no,
I think so.
that's
So
so funny.
yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yep. Oh, check out those Chinooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can really see them well. Oh, that's amazing. That's a whole thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden you just got these army guys, and then I don't know. I feel like it's kind of annoying because it's like, yeah, we were following this main cast, and now we were also
Mm.
following all these other people. It's just like all of a sudden quite a lot of characters
Yeah,
to keep track of, but
I
I don't
liked
know.
that for the most part. The big army of mercenaries are nameless and they're just cannon fodder. That's I think fine. But yeah, we do get a few like named InGen, people. But I like the added element here of a second team because I think it's not then this movie doesn't just become about this our main team getting off the island, because I feel like it could kind of get to be just that would be just like the first movie,
That's true.
essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, of course, everyone's goal is to now get off the island, but for a little while, we have this team who they're trying to take dinosaurs with them and collect them and everything. And I like that will ultimately fail, and then we'll have the two teams, becoming one, even though they have different goals. So I kind of like having this InGen team here.
Yeah,
So
it's like they're not straight antagonists either because they do have to work together in the
yeah,
end. So I think that's kind of yeah, I think that's interesting too.
some of the characters we get, obviously, Ludlow is here, part of this field expedition crew, which he doesn't really need to be here. Obviously we want him here because he gets to be the bad guy throughout the movie. We get to meet Pete Postlethwaite's character Roland, who's
Yes.
your he's the big game hunter, and he gets a great instant like monologue as soon as Ludlow suggests that they set up camp right here, and so he gets to go on this like I wish I'd timed it, this explanation of why you don't want to camp here. This is a game trail, carnivores hunt on game trails, that sort of thing, and then he
Yeah.
just tangents into the second thing, my fee. I want the
Yeah.
right to hunt one of the tyrannosaurs, a buck, and all that.
Yeah.
He is fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, he's really good.
We meet Burke, who's kind of the hairy, long hair, big beard. He's their dinosaur expert, and I think he's based on a real person. I think Thomas Backer, who they mention in the first movie as one of the writers of the book. Like Tim, when he's talking to Alan Grant, like, oh, and then I read this book by a guy named Backer. I
Oh,
think that's
cool.
who Burke is meant to kind of be.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but if I remember like looking into this stuff like way back then, pretty
Right.
sure. Or it might even be like in that DVD box set. I think one of the special features when it's talking about this movie is like, yeah, this Burke is based on Backer, I think. But and
Yeah,
then we
cool.
get Peter Stormare. He's kind of the guy in charge of the mercenaries, I guess. But he'll become another antagonist pretty soon. Just a all around jerk, and he's a great character actor. He plays Dieter. So
Yep. Yeah. So there's a fair few of them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I really dig the roundup. I love this kind of action scene of them trying to round up these dinosaurs, and we get one of my favorites is the one that they're trying to capture, the Pachycephalosaurus,
Yeah.
the one that like headbutts everything. That one's really fun.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah. No, it's a good sequence. It's kind of funny how all of a sudden you got like all of this like organized stuff going on, like all these tents going up and like everybody, just camp. And then you got the team of like Ian Malcolm and everybody and they're just like watching them like what
Yeah.
are they doing? What's their goal? Um
Yeah. And then the odd thing I think is, oh yeah, is when Vince Vaughn's Nick Van Owen says, oh, Hammond told me these guys might show up. That's why he sent a backup plan. Me, and
yeah, that was kind of silly.
it I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like it's
Um
trying to make him an action star in this moment, but he has some bolt cutters.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He just decides to, release all the dinosaurs, which I mean, fair play
yeah.
to him. I guess he's the Greenpeace guy, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, great plan, great
Yeah.
plan.
Speaking of great plans, I like that we get this sequence where Ludlow is he's trying to Skype basically with it feels like a bunch of like in other movies, the villain will auction off, something to a bunch of terrorists or villains or like, you know, that's something. But instead, it's this him auctioning off or trying to get people to buy in, like this group of boardroom type executives are trying to that he's trying to Skype with and trying to get them to essentially pitch in by help pay for this park in San Diego.
Yeah.
But it just kind of it feels like it's meant to be a big villainous, evil organization, sort of thing. But
It's just a bunch of investors.
yeah,
It's
which
pretty funny.
yeah,
It's kind of, yeah, it's in the spirit of the first movie, I guess.
yeah.
Um,
But I like this aspect of the idea is to come here, take dinosaurs, take them to the mainland where we have this park that Hammond initially was going to build until he realized he needed a bigger thing. So that part I think really works. Just the idea of the this motivation I think works for me.
yeah, yeah. I think I have a problem with like, having a park in San Diego in the first
Mm,
place. Like,
yeah,
that's not the smartest idea.
sure.
But I guess, from their point of view, they're not thinking about that, and that's kind of
Yeah,
like the whole thing is like the villains of these movies or like the antagonists of these movies aren't thinking about these are deadly creatures. They're
yeah,
thinking about how can we make the most money. Well, we put them where the people are,
yeah,
and San Diego is already famous for the zoos and whatever. And all these like animal attraction things, like what do we need? Dinosaurs.
yeah.
That'll get them. Um,
And I love that you could almost insert the what Laura Dern's Ellie says to Hammond in the first one. It's about control. You've never had control because these things are wild, dangerous animals.
yes.
And the hubris that Ludlow has here of like, yeah, we'll just make a park, make a uh, amphitheater sort of thing, and bring people to the dinosaurs or whatever. Yeah, it's all about man's wish to control nature and life finding a way. So
Yeah. It's a good theme of the movie, and
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of carried over here a little bit, which I enjoy.
yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Then of course we get the whole chaos of them freeing all these dinosaurs, and then that somehow leads to a Hummer being launched through the air and nearly killing Roland and Ajay in a tree. Like
Yeah,
that, I have a hard time with. But
yeah. It's
sure,
it's a lot, but
yeah,
whatever. I quite
yeah,
enjoy just they're escaping these guys, and then all of a sudden
hmm
you got a dinosaur just like run through the tent and like
yeah,
mess everything
yeah,
up. It's like yes, let's go. Everything's just destroyed in a minute, like in a
yeah,
second.
yeah. It's a great bit of chaos, and I like that their whole plan and all these dinosaurs that they captured are instantly, they've lost them all. And this of course kind of leads to several things kind of all happening at once. I guess in the background we've had Roland, who pretty much instantly he's gone off to hunt his T-Rex, and in doing so he's essentially he's found the T-Rex nest, and he's turned the infant into bait essentially for the parents.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're doing at this time. Nick then finds the infant and tries to free, he frees it from its being chained down or whatever, and then takes it. He and Sarah then take it to the trailer, of course,
Yes.
kind of leading us into that big problem.
Right.
um
That's one way of putting it.
yeah,
Yes.
I am impressed when he's carrying this model, this puppet of the baby T Rex. I like how it's definitely being controlled. I guess probably wirelessly because or they could have had cables running off screen, but then they've managed to hide them. But it's cool that he's able to carry this physical model around, and it's still it's moving its head, it's opening, its legs are moving, that sort of thing. So it's pretty impressive that way. I just think I can just tell that it's not a living, breathing creature, I guess.
Yes, I think
So,
that's pretty evident. Yeah, I don't know.
but
I
it
don't.
mostly works, I think. So,
Yeah, I think it does. I think if they had, if they did that in CGI, I think for the time it would be too close up
oh yeah,
to be
for sure.
convincing.
Yeah,
So I think they had to go with the animatronic there, but
yeah,
yeah, it's not the best in that moment necessarily, but
yeah.
yeah, it does what it needs to do, I guess.
And then I love how it's juxtaposed with Nick and Sarah are trying to fix this T-Rex's leg, and Ian is fighting with the radio and trying to he's trying to get the boat to come back, I believe. And
yes,
he's just fighting with this lady, who is just random person on the radio, and so I like that humor is balanced well while they're kind of messing around with that, and then obviously then Kelly wants to be somewhere else because I don't know why. I guess she figures out that other animals will hear the T Rex kind of crying out.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, it's kind of a weird thing,
essentially they want to get her now out of the. They probably just didn't want to show a kid being in this situation, I guess.
right?
So I get that.
Yeah, yeah. Although, I mean, it is never like resolved that she's like, "Oh,
Sure.
promise you'll come back," and then he, doesn't, and then she just kind of shows up later. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
it's a little
Yeah, they never,
frustrating.
really get that kind of closure, I
No,
guess.
but yeah. So then we got the trailer scene.
And this sequence, it's kind of two sequences because you kind of
Yeah.
have the T-Rex attack, and then you
Yes.
deal with the trailer going off the cliff.
Yeah.
And for me, both are excellent. I
Yes.
really love this whole sequence with the trailers.
Yeah, it's definitely the most like memorable part of the movie for me. Like
Yeah.
when I was thinking about this movie, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's the part I remember."
Hmm.
Um and it's kind of like the car scene from the first movie, but just like
Right. Yeah.
times 1,000.
Hmm.
Like you not just got one T-Rex, you got two this time
Exactly. Yep.
on
It's
both
not just
sides.
one car, it's two car. It's a trailer and a car. Yeah.
Yeah. But it works though.
It does. Yeah. I'm glad that aside from this, I mean, like I said, the movie doesn't just follow the first movie beat for beat, but I'm glad after this it's different enough. They're not doing the same things. But I think it's okay to kind of do this same sort of action danger sequence or whatever.
Yeah.
There's only like I only have like two bones to pick with this whole sequence, and that's why is the end of the trailer glass? Like,
Right.
like, because there's if you really look at it, the trailer itself has a metal door, a gate, a hatch, basically,
Yes.
and it has like grated like windows or whatever. And then if that lifts or maybe that lowers to form a ramp, then there's a solid wall of glass, like on its
Yeah.
own. I don't
Mhm.
know why that would be there. If it were partial glass, like a door with glass like that, I get. Or eh, to have this entire wall of glass at the very tail end, that I find, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
it's
and
pretty
again,
weird.
this is a movie with dinosaurs, so I'm picking nits here. But it gives us the amazing suspension, like suspenseful kind of sequence with her
Yes.
on the glass. So
Right.
obviously that's why it's there.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, you just feel that when it's like slowly splintering.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
think that they build up to that so well, like even before the trailer starts to go off the cliff with
Hmm.
like when they're inside and then you got the T-Rexes show up and it's like, "Oh yeah, they're just here for the baby."
Hmm.
And then they put the baby outside. And then there's just like a few minutes where they're like a
Yeah.
few seconds like, "Oh, what's going to happen next?" Well, obviously the T-Rexes are going to show up, but they don't know that. So they're just kind of like, "Oh, maybe they'll leave us alone."
Yeah. And I don't know, because Malcolm has like a 2-second premonition that they're gonna come back. And I don't know where that comes from because he looks off camera like he's horrified. And I don't know if that's meant to be he sees them through the window, but that's the sort of shot that we should get. And then this car goes tumbling off the cliff, and he's like, hold on to something. This is going to be bad. But I don't know if he's like, oh, wait a minute. I know how fiercely territorial T-Rexes are, but I don't know if
Yeah.
it's just weird. Like he has like I said, a 2 or 3 second head start on everyone before the the trailer gets attacked. So I'm not sure where that comes from or what that's meant to be. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of unclear.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously then we get Eddie kind of comes to save the day.
Oh, Eddie.
Yeah, poor Eddie. Oh, I
Oh.
know. And what I think is the funniest thing in this movie, and he's trying to save them, and he's like, what do you need? We need rope. Okay, rope. Anything else? 3 double cheeseburgers and an apple turnover. The
It's really
funniest
good.
thing. Yeah. These guys all hanging, I think at that point are all hanging from rope or like, about to die and they have the wherewithal to do this burger joke. I absolutely love. I
It's
think that's
so
so funny.
silly. It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, really, really good. No, but yeah, it's so like you just see the rope and it like starts to slip like
Mhm.
the
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 whole thing
wh-
it's
and then the wheels start to spin and it's
yeah.
just like the mud like
Yeah.
probably if the like if the ground wasn't wet, like he might have been
Mhm.
able to pull them with the car, but you
Yeah,
just see
oh
the
yeah.
wheels like start to spin, and you're like, oh crap!
Yeah.
Like it's just so stressful.
Well,
Um,
they do a good job of ramping up the tension because he gets the winch, he tries to take it to the trailer. Oh, it's not long enough. Okay,
yeah,
let me go back, and in that time, the rope has now slipped off. The three of them have all fallen a little bit. Then
yeah.
he gets the trailer hooked back up, and then he gets the rope reattached, and gets in the SUV to try to keep this thing steady, and then the T-Rexes return.
Oh,
Yeah, and
it's
just
crazy.
it is, and you feel so bad for Eddie. It's like he did not deserve to die.
No.
And he's terrified. He's got this gun that he's trying to get out, and his last moments are just in sheer horror. But he's still trying to I think he's even trying to keep his foot on the gas pedal while he's
Yes.
hiding in the floorboard of the passenger side, and
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
get the gun out.
Yeah, he's got his foot like on the gas pedal, and he's like spinning the wheel at the same time and like leaning over. It's like crazy. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, um, this guy is really trying to save all of these people, and he
Mm-hmm.
does.
Yeah. No,
And
totally.
it's really sad because he
Yeah.
pays the ultimate price for all of their lives. So,
Yeah.
no, it's really good. He's the MVP of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. No spoilers for the end. He's the hero of the movie.
Yeah, I know we love Eddie, but
Yeah.
he's really great, and yeah, it's such a crazy scene. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, and the moment where the whole trailer like falls around
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
it's just like dang, and they're all just still hanging there. Yeah, it's wild.
Oh,
Um,
I think my other bone to pick with this, why does the trailer have to explode?
oh, it's
I think I think it'd be fine if it just crashed into the cliffs below, but
it's
whatever.
just a movie thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, cars got to explode sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, and then that's where they get kind of rescued, or the two teams come together. They're not quite. I mean, they're kind of prisoners at this point, but there's an uneasy alliance for sure, and
Yeah.
Ian's reunited with Kelly, so that
Yeah, I guess she got found by the army guys or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. And then there's that conversation where one of them is like an extinct animal has no rights cuz
yeah,
was it no, I think it's Nick, isn't it, that's saying like, "Oh, you have no right to come and like,
right,
mind this place whatever."
hmm
So you got that interesting kind of conflict there.
yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I like that character motivation on Nick's part.
Yeah.
He's there for the animals, and yeah, it's like
Yeah, it's a good
uh,
exchange.
yeah. Then the whole idea of like all this whole troop has to get to, I believe, the center of the island, where we know is not good because we know that it's been explained to us that the predators tend
Yep.
to stay at the center. The whole idea was the that Ian and his team were going to stay on the exterior, so it's a good way to ramp up the tension by suggesting that they have to go to the center where this communications depot is, where the kind of command center of the this site B is, and so yeah, then the whole you get kind of a bit of a montage of everyone kind of traveling across the island, and
Right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because they gotta get to the communication center place because the radio
oh
uh
yeah, I like
got
that
got destroyed by the trailer when the
yeah,
trailer fell. So yeah, that's
I
what
like
they're trying to
Roland.
do now.
Roland gets in like a little jab at you know that their communication, that the InGen communications equipment was destroyed, and I'm assuming you lost all your communications in the trailer, so it's like because of you people we're stuck here. So
Yeah. Yep. So it's quite a
yeah,
good piece of tension there.
like the next after the traveling montage, everyone kind of walking, we get the everyone stops, takes a break, and then that's
Yes.
when Dieter kind of goes off on his own.
Oh
uh
dear.
oh
Oh
man.
dear. Like, okay, why does he go that far away from everybody?
Exactly, thank you.
So stupid. Like, I was watching this with my dad. I'm like,
Mm,
bro, that is your worst nightmare. Like, he gets lost. Like, he goes off to
yeah,
pee, and then he just gets lost. Yeah, because
yeah.
he comes across one of the little things that were there at the very beginning that attacked the
Yeah,
girl on the island on the beach,
the
and so
yeah
he's
the
like
compy.
the compy, yeah. So he whips his
Yeah.
gun out and he's like, "Oh," and then you don't actually see him peeing, which is good.
No,
I
yeah.
assume he does that. But
I
then
don't
they
know
all
because I think he was about to, and then he hears the compy, and then he freaks out and grabs his gun,
yeah,
and then that's when it like pops out of the bushes, and that leads this entire like, yeah, you know,
yeah.
back like him getting lost. Yeah,
I
so I
guess he
don't know.
probably soiled himself. Yeah,
Oh
by
yeah, eventually I'm sure he did. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure you would if you
yeah,
are on
yeah,
an island filled with dinosaurs that were
yeah,
gonna eat you at any second. So, but
yeah.
yeah,
And I really like this whole Dieter compy like sequence because
yes,
I want to say in the book, going back to the book, they're the cool thing about them, they're called Precomp Sognathus is like their full name, but they i- have this thing like when they bite you, it injects a, I think it's either an anesthetic or uh it might be like a anticoagulant in their bite that makes you
right,
bleed a lot.
yes,
So either way, it's like when enough of them bite him and attack him, like it's suggesting that they can take down large, prey essentially. Like even though they're really tiny, like enough of them can bring down, this guy. And
yeah,
I love the way they swarm him, and he just gets to this breaking point where he's running from him and trying to get him to leave him alone. Like it is panic inducing.
yeah,
It's a really well done sequence.
yeah. It is horrifying, and
Yeah.
I think it's just there's just that kind of idea of like there's one of them, but
Hmm.
then all of a sudden there's like more,
Yeah.
it is like it is scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep in mind, like going back, this was Hammond's death in the first book. Like this is how he basically went out.
Yeah.
So yeah, just still horrifying.
Yeah, and then like all you see is just the blood in the water
Yeah. Yeah.
coming down. And that happens later on too.
And
But
it's a really good use of the little ones that are on him are all practical. I don't know how they control. Maybe they're just made out of rubber, and maybe the actor, maybe Peter Stormare is doing the like if he wiggles around enough, it makes them flop around violently. So
maybe.
maybe he's kind of doing the performance of, or maybe they're also controlled remotely, or maybe small enough wires are controlling them because their tails are flapping. They're not just a piece of a prop, but
Yeah,
they work really well, I think. And
they
then
do.
in the
Yeah.
wide shots, they're all digital, which really works. I think they really hold up very well.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think they
I think
look
it works
really
because 'cause
good.
they're small, they can be kinda I don't know, I think it helps because there's not as much detail there,
Right. Yeah,
so
for sure. No, I think that scene is just really good.
mhm.
Um and I think it's particularly just because he's gone off on his own.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
feel that like dread of like,
Mhm.
oh no, like you just know he's gonna get picked off, and
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
these little guys. Yeah, it's
yeah.
really good scene, absolutely.
I would get the soon after you get the second T-Rex attack where, they've realized he's gone, then they kinda split the party. Roland and someone else goes off to search for Dieter. They've is already glommed onto the fact that Sarah has this bloody jacket on, which, come on, I mean, at that point, when they've pointed out the jacket and, "Oh,
Yeah.
the blood won't dry, it gets too humid here, take off the jacket," you know?
Right.
Uh, I really struggle with that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's dumb. It's like, no, no. You should have
Yeah.
left that behind a long time ago.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
and then because again, once they make camp at night, like the main group is meant to go ahead. Roland is going to search for Dieter and then catch up. So we now have the main part of the group is camped. Sarah and Kelly have a tent, and even there, like they've got food, candy bars, like kind of strewn out. Like
yeah,
I don't know. Again, it's
yeah.
the writing is failing the characters that and making you think, "Why would they be stupid enough to do this?" So
Yeah, it's frustrating for sure. But I think like the good part of that scene is like, oh, they're just in a tent. Like there's nowhere to
yeah,
hide.
yeah, yeah,
So that is pretty effective. When
mhm,
the T-Rex comes, you're like, oh yeah,
yeah,
this is not a great situation.
right,
So yeah, that's panic inducing for
mhm.
sure. And then they all just gotta run. Just
Yeah, no,
run
it's a
away.
it's a great chase, and the one thing, Malcolm knows about T-Rexes is don't move. He's trying to,
Yeah.
"Don't run, don't run, don't move," and people are
Yep.
it's just chaos.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
of course that would happen, but it's still frustrating to watch because 'cause you're like,
mhm.
"No."
You're like, "He's right." He yeah,
Yeah, but they just gotta
but
run for their lives.
yeah, yeah. It's a good, like, everyone like, one guy gets trampled, I think that's Carter, the guy that
Yeah,
was meant to, like, be Dieter's lookout. We've
yeah,
seen him a couple times throughout the movie. Yeah, he gets trampled and then stepped on by the T-Rex. That's kinda fun.
yeah. I think we're at, like, death count number 3 at that point,
Mm.
and then I lost count afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
because once they all head for this waterfall, and then Burke gets killed. There's a snake in gets into his shirt, and then that makes him panic, and then the T Rex gets him.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
I really like that shot where you just see the blood coming down the
Mm-hmm.
waterfall. Like, it's
Yeah.
so gross, and
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
else is just, like, freaked out and horrified. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good shot.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good cinematography in this movie, actually.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think shortly after that, it's still chaos and everyone starts to run into the grass. And we have Ajay who's, trying to yell to everyone like don't go into the long grass. He knows that this is a raptor zone.
Yeah.
Basically, they were trying to avoid it, and I guess he feels like he needs to stay with the party to I don't know, but he goes into the grass, and then we get the raptor attack, and it's another fantastic sequence.
Yep. Really good.
There's one shot that they used in every TV, in every trailer, TV promotion, whatever. It's when one guy shines his flashlight and you see this raptor like illuminated by the flashlight as he jumps and lands on the guy. It's a beautiful. Speaking of like good shots, like that one is just really really cool.
Yeah.
It's a great little sequence here, but
Yeah. It's really great. Yeah, and then you have, yeah, Sarah and Kelly and Malcolm all trying to get away from the raptors too when they get to the
Yeah,
well, no, yeah, before that you get Nick getting to the communication
right. Yeah, he goes
place.
they all fall there's a weird sequence where they all fall down a hill. It almost looks like a water slide, like, they go I think this is after they've gone through the tall grass. Like, they've made it through, I think, and then fall down a cliff,
Okay, yeah, I'm
and
getting
that's
skipping ahead.
when yeah, that like, they get Ian's ankle gets twisted enough, so then, yeah, Nick runs ahead to the communications center, and it's as I was watching it, like, I genuinely forgot what happened to Nick. I couldn't remember, like, obviously, he gets to the communications center, he makes contact, and then we don't see him again for a while, and I could not remember, does he get killed? I couldn't remember him popping up again. So that was kind of a fun, like, I don't know what happens to this character.
Yeah.
And then I guess the chaos kind of dies down with the survivors of the InGen people, because at this point we've got Roland has returned, tranquilizes one of the T Rexes, so he gets his trophy.
He gets his wish.
Yeah,
Yep, good for
which
him.
kind of I wish that Roland had not wanted to kill the T-Rex, and that tranquilizing it wasn't his backup or his fallback plan. Like, because there was talk between Nick and Roland. They have a decent scene where he's like, "Why do you want to kill it? Why do you want to
Yeah.
hunt this thing?" And he Roland gives him the Everest story of, I think it's, but he talks about, like, because it's there,
Yeah, yeah.
I want to hunt this thing, and I wish that, like, a keep that scene, but then I wish Nick had been there to see him with his gun about to shoot the T-Rex and maybe trying to stop him or whatever, and then he shoots it, and oh, it was a tranquilizer gun the entire time, like,
Yeah.
you know
Oh, that would've been really good.
just to show that Roland has some humanity, or wasn't trying to kill this thing. He wanted to hunt it and overcome it, but didn't want to kill it. Like, I kind of wish that had been Roland's arc in this movie,
Yeah, I
you
think
know.
that would have been really good because, yeah, I guess instead what you get is, yeah, I wanted to kill it and then I didn't.
Yeah.
And
It,
then, I gotta be okay with that. And now
right.
I want to get away from this death island or whatever. And it's like, cool.
Yeah. And then kind of quickly, we get Roland has a moment with Ludlow where Ludlow's all excited. They're like they're packaging up the T Rex into this container thing, and he's like, "Hey, you got your trophy. And it's alive and all that." And then Roland has this great bit where he's like, "He didn't make it, Ajay," you know, and I want to say they talk about it I think going back to the special features on the DVD,
Hmm.
that the actor, Pete Postlethwaite, made a choice that he and Ajay were more than friends, that they were either lovers or in a committed relationship, and
Okay.
that, like, it informed his character as far as why he cares so much that Ajay didn't make it through this. And I really like that. I like there's like if you watch just them prior to all this, there's definitely either a friendship or more. It's kind of I think it works like it's up to the viewer, like how you want to see that relationship. But if I can remember right, that the actor was like, yeah, he and I are a couple, and I think it totally works here, and that's why he got his trophy, but he lost his partner. So I think it really works.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's really good. I didn't pick up on that, but that's interesting. I might have to watch it again and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and it may not have made it been part of the special feature. It may have been in an article or an interview that he did years
Got
later.
it.
I can't remember, but I definitely have read something about the actor was like, no, this is how I'm gonna play it, you know.
Cool.
So, and I think it really works. So,
Yeah,
what else? And then we
really good.
get more fun with raptors.
Yes,
And
the
And gymnastics.
I was gonna say we gotta we gotta talk about the gymnastics scene.
Oh man, the sequence with the Raptors is I think pretty fun because it's the rest of our original team makes it to the communications site, and I like that the Raptors are with them. Basically, it's like they've had their meal in the long grass, and now
Yeah.
they're returning. I think this is the Raptors' like main nest, and so like it's them kind of returning from their hunt,
Yeah.
and yeah, just this fun kind of chase with raptors. And although this part of the movie, this action sequence, it reminds me of a little bit of a stunt spectacular, a like a
Mhm.
Universal Studios or whatever, or
Yes.
it's like a Pirates of the Caribbean action scene where I'm
That's a good
surprised that
comparison.
I'm surprised someone isn't running on a big paddle wheel, trying to, get away from these things. Like there's just some silly
Yeah.
action little bits in this.
It's really hokey. I don't remember there being any scene like this in the first movie. I mean, apart from maybe when they're running around the museum part and they're like running on top of the like skeleton of the
Yeah, yeah.
of the
I think
T-Rex.
it's kind of that. Yeah.
It's kind of similar to that, but like I think this is the hokiest thing in like out of those two movies. And I'm here
Hmm.
for it personally. I think it's
Yeah,
really good.
yeah.
I
No,
mean,
it
it's silly, but I
definitely
think it's
works.
fun.
Yeah. There's just one part where like Sarah, she's on the roof, and she's essentially she's hanging onto the roof,
Yeah.
and then she falls down. Two raptors are tussling, around her because they're fighting because whatever, and
Yes.
she rolls. No, she's on the ground, but then she
Yeah.
rolls into a hole and falls into a room
Yes.
and then slides out of a window and then back onto the ground. It's just that whole part is like it's a bit of a ride at that
Yeah.
point. So, but
It's
there's
like,
some good
man.
stuff with Goldblum fighting off a raptor, and yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's like, man, like she didn't break her back, like going
yeah,
out that window. I don't
yeah,
know, but
yeah,
I know I really like the no the moment where she's on the roof and like these tiles keep like falling off, and then
yeah,
the raptor just like slides down off the
uh-huh, yeah,
tiles that are coming off the roof. It's pretty good.
yeah. But
Yeah.
but I mean, we can't not talk about the gymnastic
No,
sequence.
it's the pinnacle of this
Uh-huh.
of this
And
scene.
that's why that's why she's here, maybe?
Right.
And they tee it up in the first scene with Kelly, about her getting cut from the team, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it doesn't come from nowhere, but man,
It's
eh,
still just
those
yeah.
pipes were just spaced out just right, huh?
I mean,
to to do your routine, yeah.
I just don't understand like what what kid in that situation would think, "Hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just do the high bar. I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna just kick a raptor in the face.
Yeah.
That'll work." Like, and it's not just gonna bite my leg. Nah,
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
fall out this window. Like, she I don't know, she couldn't find it
Yeah.
better if she tried. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And just
Yeah.
yeah, just Malcolm's response of like, and they cut you from the team? It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
like that's all he's got to say. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
But yeah,
great.
I mean, and then Nick pops back up. They get to the kind of the choppers have arrived, and I think then that's when we get the scene with Roland and Ludlow and talking about the T-Rex and everything. And
Yeah.
then I mean, everyone's rescued, and that's the movie. So we
That's
we can rate it now, and because the movie ends right here at the
unfortunately.
logical ending,
Oh, I know.
right?
Right. Oh no.
Uh,
Um, and yeah, and then it got to turn into a kaiju movie. It
yeah,
got to turn
yeah,
into Godzilla at the very end. Um,
and that's exactly what it is. They want a little. I don't know. I feel like the whole taking the T-Rex to San Diego could work, but there's a few problems. Obviously, I think that had they done it sooner, and there were you have a longer sequence of dinosaurs running around the mainland.
Mhm.
I think that kind of would have worked if when the InGen team came and started capturing dinosaurs, maybe they succeed and then they go to the mainland and then it's a movie about, fighting dinosaurs in the city. I mean, maybe that would be better, probably not. But
Right.
the problem with bringing a T-Rex and having it stomp around a city is that the scale is not as impressive. One T-Rex is not a Godzilla. It can't flatten buildings. It can't, it can run around and eat some people and smash some cars, but it's not as impressive as a T-Rex in a jungle. Then it's
Right.
more menacing. It feels like it's a larger than life threat. But when you backdrop one T-Rex against a city, like it just doesn't feel as threatening. Like, I mean, it
Yeah.
is,
I don't, yeah. I think that's true. I think something about it is just like, this is weird. Like it
yeah,
just feels like tacked on at the very end. It's like, hey, we got to
yeah,
make this movie like 10 minutes longer for no
right,
reason. Like all of a sudden this has to be King Kong and it's like, why? And I think that's, yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's like, the threat just doesn't s- feel the same.
yeah,
It's like, oh, we just got to up the death count,
right.
for
Well,
for the
and we
purposes of,
need
yeah, and
in gen, we need their comeuppance, sort of thing, or
right.
I, I don't
And
know.
I really, when it's like, the ship is coming in,
Hmm.
right, with the T-Rex on it,
Yeah,
and then the man in the control room or whatever, it's like it's not slowing down, like it's just
yeah.
coming in at full speed or whatever, and then
Hmm.
everybody else is like, oh no, like what happened? Well, obviously, like the T-Rex ate everybody, and then
See, I that's not what happens though, because the T Rex is locked in that container. If a T Rex had gotten out, the whole wheelhouse of that ship would be wrecked.
that's true.
So what had to have happened, and I laid this all out. Okay, I looked at
Okay.
where San Diego is and where you know Costa Rica is, because the island is meant to be 80 miles off the coast of Costa Rica. So you send a ship from an island roughly around Costa Rica. It's not a straight line to San Diego. So you'd have to have crew piloting this ship to get it pointed at this port, right?
Right.
And it's kind of like at some point the crew would have had to make its final like approach to San Diego and get it lined up with the port, which tells me that the crew was alive within the last half an hour,
Right.
45 minutes, maybe an hour, which tells me that there were raptors on a raptor or several raptors had to have been on the boat. What other
Mm.
predator do we know in this, on this island is small enough to attack people? It could not have been the T-Rex, because again, it's still in the for the most part, it's in the cargo hold.
Right.
If there was a raptor, then that means it would have had to have stayed hidden through the entire voyage, up until the
Right.
last bit, and raptor wouldn't know to hide. It wouldn't have
Yeah.
concealed itself that long.
Right.
So when did this crew get killed? How, maybe it was the T-Rex and they somehow managed to get it back into the cargo hold and that's why the door was slightly ajar, but I can't buy that the T-Rex killed everybody. So to me it had to
Mm.
have been a raptor, and if that's the case, where did the raptor go? Maybe the crew were able to kill it and send it overboard. I don't know. There's too many
Yeah.
questions with
That is
why,
a good point. And I don't know. Yeah.
and that is what has ruined this movie for me ever
Yes.
since it came out.
Oh, that's
Is
so
this is that
frustrating.
boat and why the crew is dead, and because you don't need it. You
No.
really don't. This ship could have come in a normal fashion, and they could have had plenty of other dinosaur related catastrophes have happened in these two movies. Like while they're offloading it, the T-Rex could have become freed. You don't need this ghost ship.
Yeah.
That's
It's
that's my big problem with this movie.
right. That is so yeah. I didn't even think about that. How did it get out? How did it eat everyone? Like why is the ship not in complete like
Yeah.
disarray? Like why is it intact? Yes, that is true. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I do like the line where they're like, "Where's the crew?" All over the place, and
Yeah,
there's just a
that's
hand and a
great.
forearm left on the
Yeah,
steering wheel. I enjoyed
yeah.
that moment. Thought that was funny. Uh, but yeah, that is yeah, that's annoying and
Mhm.
frustrates me. Like I didn't enjoy the last third of the movie anyways. I thought the
Right.
whole I don't know, it was just really tedious. Like the whole chase with trying to lure it with the baby
Right.
Rex again and like all of that and like we are taking the thingy and you got to shoot us if you
Yeah,
want it or
yeah.
whatever. It's like
It's
I don't
fun seeing the T-Rex, like, in the suburbs, it goes she says, like, "Well, it's gonna seek out water." Well, you're on the water. It's not gonna go to a swimming pool, you know,
yeah.
to get water. But I mean, you see that they establish the dog, and then it cuts to the
Yeah.
kid in the house, and then it cuts back, and the doghouse is hanging out of the Rex's mouth, and the ball's on you, Mr. Spielberg, for killing a dog off
Oh
screen,
no.
but he killed that dog.
Right.
Yeah, that's normally you wouldn't get that. So
No, no, it's true. That's a good bit. Yeah,
yeah,
and I do quite like just seeing the sort of carnage in the downtown area, and
yeah,
I like that bit. But I was just like, why? What is the point of this? Like, this is so like I don't know. Like the whole moment where they're explaining that. Oh, you gave it this thing to like wake it up? Like,
right.
why did you do that? Like, you gave it way too much. And it's just
Hmm.
like, I mean, I don't know. I just think
Yeah.
that whole part is just silly. Like, I don't think it makes any sense to
Right.
me.
And also like they go to the I guess it's Jurassic Park, whatever the name of this amphitheater.
Yeah.
They go there to get the baby, and aside from some security guards at the front gate, there's no vet there. There's no like animal. No, there's no person there like keeping an eye on the infant. I mean, more security guards show up when they do get back in the car, but like they just left this thing here by itself. That seems weird.
Yeah.
But again,
Uh,
these are nitpicks or whatever, but it's still, yeah, the whole San Diego sequence at the end is full of really, moments.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean the part that gets me is when they have the infant, they take it back to the ship, they leave it there in the cargo hold, and then
mhm.
Lowland is like, "Ah, you're back.
Yeah.
Whatever. I gotta pet you
Yeah.
for a moment." And it's like, bro, like, did
Yeah,
you forget that this is a T Rex?
right. And then
And
the the this is the male T-Rex, is, like, tiptoeing back into the cargo hold. That makes me laugh. Just
it's so good. I'm like, bro, like you're gonna die right now,
yeah. And
you know?
and it's a good, he gets what's coming to him. I do appreciate that.
Yes,
Um,
yes, he
it
deserved it
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Um, but it's just it's a super dumb death though. I'm like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's funny, but I'm like, bro, why would you do this?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah,
I
very
mean,
good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't really have any other real notes. I mean, I like the way it ends with John Hammond. He's on. He was recorded talking about like, we need to preserve this island, and they need our absence, not our help, and that sort of thing. I like that kind of message that it ends with.
Yeah,
That all works, but yeah, it just kind of, man, if that didn't have that last like 20-minute sequence, this I had written down like this would be like a point higher in my rating than it ultimately gets, but I think that ending just really takes it down a bit. So
yeah, it bothered me a lot. I was like, I was really enjoying the movie up until this part, and it's just like, yeah, I don't
yeah,
know.
and I think that's the general feeling about this movie is most of the on island stuff is generally regarded as being pretty good. Not the best, not as good as the first one, but then it's the San Diego sequence that really ruins it for most people, it seems like. And the other thing, like I noticed with this one, it doesn't feel like a Spielberg movie the way that the first one certainly does. The way like Raiders and E.T. and just other Spielberg classics, like this one doesn't feel like a Steven Spielberg movie to me. I don't feel
Interesting.
his style in most of it. It feels like a Steven Spielberg presents, something that he produced or was involved in. It just doesn't feel like him directing. And I've heard recently there was some stuff him talking about it. He was like, yeah, I realized like halfway through that I didn't want to be making these movies anymore or something like
Oh
that,
no.
Yeah, like he was going through some stuff at this point. He didn't want to be making like action sequels or whatever. So
Yeah, I feel that. And I think we've identified like problems with some of the characters, well, namely like Sarah and also Kelly,
yeah,
um, and like the kids shoehorned in at the very
yeah,
beginning, like just kind of like weird choices, and it's like he didn't handle the characters like as good as he has in other movies. Like, not that they were terrible. Like,
hmm
I don't think it was terrible in any way, but it's just like they weren't written so good. They didn't have this like spark that they do in other things. Some of the other side characters I really liked, like I quite like Nick and people like
hmm
that, and Eddie and stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, and
Well,
Roland,
and I
um,
think Goldblum shines in this. I think
he does.
he's great.
He's really good.
It's an odd choice to make him your like out of the first movie. Why would he be the one that we'd center this around? And it's probably comes down to the actor. I'm guessing Sam Neill didn't want to come back. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but I think it was like for the third one he does come back, and it's like I think because he didn't want to do the second one or whatever. But
Mm.
um,
I think
yeah,
I think the other thing that this movie really kind of suffers from, I would say, well, I don't know about suffer, but like what it lacks maybe is like the first movie you've got the wonder of like seeing the dinosaurs on
hmm
screen for like the first time.
yeah,
And like the moment where where you see like Alan Grant and whatever her name is, Dr. Sadler, like,
yeah,
and they just stand up in the Jeep and they're just staring and their like jaw
yeah.
drops and you go
Gives
and
you
then
goosebumps. Yeah,
yeah,
just
yeah, and
just you describing it gave me goosebumps.
right, and then you got the shot of the them just walking along, and it's so like majestic and
hmm
beautiful, and there's not really kind of a big establishing shot like that in this
Right.
movie. Like, you see the stegosauruses and that's fun.
Yeah, it
um
just doesn't have the same impact.
no, and it's like, we kind of already seen this before, which, I mean,
hmm
obviously it's a sequel, so it's gonna be that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think the other thing is, like, in the first movie, you've got that main theme, right?
Yeah.
And the score in this film is not this, it's
It's
some
it's one of those that you don't notice it.
you don't.
And in a couple places, I think the music's good with the trailer on the cliff sequence. I know it's got a lot of high pitched, drama, but for the
Yeah.
most part, unless it's hitting the main theme, like they reuse that theme a few times. Like when Hammond convinces him to go to the island, I think it starts to play, and then when Roland and Ian's two teams group up and they decide the montage kind of going across the island, like then it plays there and a couple other spots maybe, but yeah, I think the score is is pretty forgettable.
Yeah. Which is a shame, but
Yeah,
I think I think the first Jurassic Park is one of those films that just like so hard
yeah,
to follow up on. And I think Jurassic World did a really good job at being in a homage to it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So I still like this movie though.
I do too. That's the thing.
There's still
I
some
do.
really
I
good
like this
moments.
movie. Yeah, yeah.
I believe there's a hero in all of us
I just finally know what I have to do.
that keeps us honest,
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
gives us strength,
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
What would you say? I think we've already talked about the hero being that Mercedes-Benz sport utility vehicle for really just giving them the time they need.
Yep.
This episode sponsored by Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's got to be Eddie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know, he did it. He paid the ultimate sacrifice. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
He's not around. But yeah.
This planet, these people, they are nothing to me.
You were made to be ruled.
The universe's power! You unstoppable power! Come to me, son of Jor-El! Kneel before Zod! And I am that force! I am that power!
In the end, you will always kneel.
Kneel before your master!
What about most villainous? You got anything that stuck out as far as being a big villain moment?
A big villain moment. Man, I think it's got to be those little compies.
Oh, okay.
Little dinosaurs. Yeah, he's just brutal. That death is so brutal.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
in terms
that's pretty good. I'm gonna go with Roland. As much as I love the character, he breaks the leg of a baby T-Rex to
right.
pin it there, or to immobilize it. I guess that's never set well with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I give it that, and then the overarching. I mean, obviously, Ludlow is
Yeah.
is a real bastard throughout the movie, but
Right. He's the real answer.
yeah, but
Yeah, for sure. Very good.
I did want to share. I got in one of my group chats, friend of the show Niall from Bat Minute shared some thoughts on the movie. Says there's some great sequences in that movie. The raptors in the grass, Peter Stormare getting attacked by the compies, Julianne Moore on the cracking glass.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything with Pete Postlethwaite, but the San Diego ending is a bust from every angle. So
Right.
yeah. So I mean, pretty
Yeah.
much, I think same feelings that we've had for the most part. So
Yeah. Sums it up basically.
yeah. So let's rate it. What out of 5? What would you rate The Lost World?
Out of 5, I want to give it a solid 3. I think. For me, like,
Yeah.
I do really like the movie. I like a lot of the nods to the first movie. I guess those sequences that were just mentioned are all really good. I would also add just some of the shots, like the blood coming down the water thing. I really noticed that. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Couple of other things, just the menacing moment of the two T-Rexes
Mhm.
show up
Yeah.
around the trailer. And I think some really good character writing with Malcolm and stuff, and or some good lines that he says. Yeah, particularly the beginning of the movie when he's talking
Mhm.
to Hammond, I think is
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, and then in
Right
terms
on.
of the final sequence, like, I do like the kaiju part where the T-Rex is just like walking around. But I
Yeah.
mean, it is just like, this is so unnecessary. Like, I
Yeah.
like it, but it's no good.
Mhm. Well, and they even go for the Godzilla joke of showing like a bunch of Japanese businessmen running, and
Right.
they stop just short of hearing them yell, Gojira or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's something, anyways.
Right, yeah. I'm with you. I'm at a 3 with this one. Where I jokingly like said, okay, this is the end of the movie, right? I mean, at that point, like when I paused it to kind of, like, I would have given this movie a 4 because at that point I enjoyed everything we'd gotten. There's some missteps, and obviously we found things that didn't work, and but overall my enjoyment at that point was at a 4. And then when you hit play and then we go to San Diego, it just dips so fast and so
Yeah.
low. For me, it's basically because of the ghost ship aspect of it. You don't need that suspense. You don't need
No.
that tension to be ratcheted up with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm at a 3. I mean, it is a movie that overall I like watching it. until you get to the end. And then it's I have the same feeling about this movie as I do about the Matrix trilogy. Like the first one's so good that it makes you want to continue living in that world, and you watch the
Right.
second two movies and then you regret having watched the first movie. So
Oh
this,
no.
so the first, I guess, 3 acts of this movie are really pretty good until you get to the last act and you regret watching the movie in the first place. So that's how I feel
Bruh.
about this. But
Yeah, I love the first Matrix so much. Like
yeah,
I studied it in school, like for English class, and so I watched it a bunch of times. And then I decided, hey, do you know what? I'm gonna buy the trilogy and like
yeah,
watch them all. And I watched the second one and hated it, and just never watched them again. I was like, nah.
yeah,
I'll just forget the second movie exists and just watch the first one again.
right, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So there we go. That's
unfortunate.
yeah, that's a
Really good.
3. Yeah, man, it's been fun talking to you,
Oh,
Karis, on
this has been a blast. Thank you.
yeah. What would you like to hip our audience to, our listeners to?
Excellent. Yeah, so I do podcasts also. I have a show. It's called Journey Into Fandom, where I talk to people about what fandoms or communities they're part of, what their experience has been, what the memes are, and how toxic or wholesome the fandom is as a whole. Yeah, Travis came on as a guest one time. We talked about Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Real good, real fun. I have another show and it's called Retrospective, and me and my co-host Lee, we discuss things that we have nostalgia for, and we kind of revisit it as adults and think, does it hold up or not? And spoiler alert, sometimes it doesn't. It's a good time. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter if you want at Carison Ford. That's CaryssonFord. And yeah, that's about everything.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you again for coming on and being so great. But
Absolutely. Thank
yeah,
you for having me. It's been a blast.
my pleasure. So next episode, we should be heading back to Gotham for Batman and Robin.
Let's
Oh man,
go.
have you ever seen Batman and Robin?
I haven't. And
Okay.
I kind of want to. I
Yeah,
just haven't ever gotten around to it.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah. So
it has its moments.
maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, you should. That'll do it for this episode. Until then, stay safe out there, citizens.
I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
This is why Superman works alone.
A world at risk. Batman will watch his beloved Gotham perish.
Just what I had in mind. Everything dead on Earth except us.
Yes.
Girl of my dreams.
Come join me. Forget the geriatric bat.
A partnership
Robin, no!
in crisis.
You were reckless, and you almost got killed by Freeze tonight. All you could think about was poison ivy.
How are we supposed to work together if you won't trust me?
A family in conflict.
And then I go after Freeze and Ivy alone.
She loves me and not you, and it's driving you crazy.
One kiss.
She wants to kill you, Dick. It's my rules that keep us alive, and you will abide by them.
You must learn to trust him, for that is the nature of family. A legacy in danger. But I shan't be here forever.
Alfred's not sick. He's dying.
Can't believe it.
I spent my entire life trying to beat back death. But I can't, can I?
None of us can.
When Venom meets vengeance. Justice cannot fight alone.
Suit me up, Uncle Alfred.
I'm asking you, friend, partner, brother. Will you help me?
Arnold Schwarzenegger, George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Uma Thurman, Alicia Silverstone. A Joel Schumacher film. Strength now.
Partners?
Partners.
Courage always.
Partners.
Family above all. Batman and Robin.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.